Worked, eh?
We're going live. We're live. It's live now.
Anthony, we need your help. Can you see us? I mean, if you can see
Anthony.
anybody, you can see my bulbous, hairy face.
It looks like it's working.
Nick, why are
Anthony,
you the pixely one today?
I'm pixely.
Yeah, you are never the pixely one.
I'm using my
Yeah.
I'm using my
I don't know
C920.
if we could get a confirm from some of the guys. Oh, there we go. It's working.
RoughRiffs?
Good.
Is it working?
Yeah. RoughRiffs, how are you? Oh, shoot. Here we go. It works better when you turn the headphones on. Can you guys say some words?
Words.
Hello. These are words.
Words. Great to see you fellas. Okay, it's working.
Amazing. Okay. A little bit of a scare coming into this one,
Man,
there.
I tell you what, I
Yeah.
tell you what.
I'll tell you what, we got it figured. We got it figured out. How is everybody? Good to be back. Sorry about last week.
Yes.
Comedy of errors. And yeah. So what we're attempting to do, I haven't really talked to Stephen about it, but we're attempting to loop.
Format change, Stephen. Dance.
Yeah. We're attempting to loop some other folks in so that no matter what, bandless can always happen. And probably going to talk to a few of the bandless, a few of you out there about this as well. But I hope as well. Oh, you don't like that one, eh, Nick?
I don't like being so big.
Okay, I want to be big. Yeah.
You're looking way more crispy than I am.
It's because my internet connection is boss right now. But I'm facing the wrong way. Maybe I could do this. But then I'm
Yeah, I noticed. Wait,
dancer in the dark,
There we go.
though.
there we go.
Dancer in the dark.
We're gonna make it happen.
Oh yeah. So what Bunn is trying to say is we're going to basically ensure that any of the bullshit that happens when Bunn asked off and then I had to cancel doesn't happen. Bandless will always happen. So we're gonna have a
Gonna try and put a team together.
we're gonna put a team together.
Not that we aren't a team, Nick Hill.
I don't know.
Just
I
a
don't think
big-
Bunn wants
big-
to be my friend anymore.
Bigger team. Bigger team. Oh, Nick Hill. You're such a, what do you call those? A defeatist? Isn't that what today's topic is all about?
You know what? It's fitting because I'm sure I've been a thorn in your side the last couple weeks with my attitude.
Your attitude is terrible.
This attitude needs to go, man.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk
This
about
is
it
funny
today.
because I'm pretty sure Nick told me to be positive earlier.
It's super easy for me to like give direction. Do
Right.
as I say, not as I do.
Fair enough.
It's the truth. But whatchamacallit, I'm opening up Drive here because I had to switch accounts, but now I'm back. Here we go. So today's topic is impatience and giving up. And Nick, I don't know if you have it open. I have it open
do.
here. Okay, great. For those of you who are new to the show, which is unlikely, but if you are, Bandless is a show all about being a solo music creator of sorts. It applies to people in bands as well, but it's just about the kind of the mental game and the, tools, tactics, and perspectives in kind of moving forward as an artist, a music artist. So today's topic, impatience and giving up, and Nick Hill, the man, is going to take us into what today's topic is all about, a little bit more light on it.
Yes. So today we're talking about going from zero to hero in an instant. So, I mean, you got to, oh man, I didn't read this beforehand. Dang it. You got the computer, the wares, the sweet axe, and the modeler. Okay, yes, I got it. 5-star tones, production should be instant, right? No. Sadly, no matter how much money you spend, it's still going to take a few hours, days, months, sometimes years. I mean, still, shit, half the stuff we're still getting good at.
Yep.
You have to add salt to the wound. And to add salt to the wound, not womb, wound.
I like the womb.
Sometimes you
Add
gotta
salt to the
salt a
wound.
wound.
Some
Very
folks
Dean of you.
are going to go right away, and some are never really going to get it. Yeah, this is This is good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. We've all been in this situation or been around this situation where, we got into something and we thought it was going to be like, we had the right tools, and the tools were going to take care of the majority of the job for us, whether it be music production or just playing live shows, or maybe even if it's graphics or whatnot. And I think Stephen and Nick, both of you guys, I can say for myself that I have definitely experienced this. Thankfully for myself, it was pretty humbling early on, and I got wise to it, and I got patient with, like, okay, there's process to everything. The tools don't take care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we definitely all have friends, I'm sure, who are very impatient, or that we've witnessed being very impatient and have kind of given up as a result of maybe attempting to buy their way in, or just kind of waltz their way in and then be like, what's up?
Yeah.
I bought Pro Tools. I should be a pro.
Yeah. We see it all the time, and I don't mean to throw shade to anybody who follows any of us,
No.
but you see it in the comments. You see it in the comments a lot.
Yeah, it's a normal, it is a thing that happens to everyone. And I think it's a valuable experience if you're patient enough to allow it to be that. What's going on with your window?
That window.
There was a guy moving a trash can outside of it.
Okay, well, shut that guy down.
Bring him
But
in.
yeah, bring him into loop him into the conversation.
Loop him in.
Stephen, I'm curious, like, however you want to approach this topic, from your own personal perspective, from the perspective of someone that you've watched struggle this way and maybe has given up. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We're each going to kind of go at this topic from our own personal perspective. And however you want to approach it is up to you. And I'm curious if, Stephen, you want to kick it off.
I immediately just think of guys that I went to high school with, that I was in bands with or played around, that kind of got to a certain point and didn't feel like they had gotten anywhere. Or like the high school that I went to, there were two bands that kind of took off, and one of them ultimately it was Hawthorne Heights, and the other one, I want to say that the name of that band was Midtown, which was also a Victory band. There were a lot of guys. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What's the other? Devil Wears Prada, same area.
Wow.
Okay. A lot of bands at that time that were coming out of high school, so like 2000, 2001-ish. Like, there were enough people getting signed that it was making other people jealous, so they were giving up.
Right. That's
oh man,
so crazy.
Yeah, so it's kind of immediately where my head goes with it, but I don't know. I mean,
no, that's definitely kind of in the lane for sure. Yeah.
Nick, you anything come to mind right off the top of your head?
Yeah, like a few things. Most recently, and again, like, no disrespect to anybody who leaves a comment or who's struggling, but there's been a few comments where it'll be laid out in, it doesn't even have to be my video, like something will be laid out by a creator, and people say like, well, I have this and I have this and I did this and I have this and it doesn't sound, or it's not doing exactly what you're doing, thinking about selling it all. It's
right.
Like, okay, like how much time did you put into it? That's an exterior thing, but when I'm not being a negative Nancy, my reflex is to like turn it on myself. And I know with mixing, I've gone through this same thing with guitar tones. When I had my POD HD 500, I'm like, this thing sucks. I can't get a good tone out of it. I remember it so vividly doing that. And then when I just said, fuck it, this sounds good enough, and I wrote songs, then I go back and listen to it, and I'm like, man, these don't sound half bad. I was just being a bitch or whatever, and mixing too, early mixing. I was like, I'm never going to get this right. Never going to get it right. Drums, and I'm like, I'm just not going to do drums ever. I've said that. I'm just not going to do drums. I'm I'm just going to use Superior, or I'm never going to mix drums individually. Never. Shit, Bunn, I'm sure I've said that to you since I've known you. Like, I don't need to do it.
Right.
Just let the
Yeah.
plugin do it. I'm not going
Well,
to do it.
I think you've been pretty warm to a lot of the whole time I've known you, you've been really warm to trying. You're like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. I remember when you were just getting into mastering, you were uncertain, and I'm like, just go for it. And then you did it, and it sounded good. And I'm like, there you go. Did it sound like a $1,000 mastering job or a $10,000 mastering job? I don't know. We can't compare.
Right.
Right. And I think we let that stuff kind of get in our way sometimes. It's like, if you just do it and it sounds good and you don't have anything to compare to, it's probably good enough.
Yeah. And I mean, the same goes for everything to do with this. You know, like, sometimes good enough is just that. You know,
What is that saying? I don't know if either of you have ever heard it. It's like good enough, like where they break it up.
Oh,
It's not good enough. It's not like giving up. Like
it's good.
some people
Enough.
think,
Stop.
yeah,
You're good.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it their expression is leave well enough alone?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well enough is well enough. Leave it alone.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, my experience in this, the first thing that comes to mind is probably twofold, very similar situations on both sides. Both people of particular affluence. Absolutely nothing wrong with being affluent. If you have those kinds of resources and you're willing to put them into creating things and whatnot, I think that's amazing. Some people will throw shade at people of affluence.
Hello.
Little buddy there. But I've helped two people of, particularly ripe incomes or particularly high levels of comfort, put together studios. And they just, very first thing, never recorded before, very first thing they did was go out and buy a Pro Tools HD. And spent like $150,000
Right.
on a recording.
They went hard. Yep.
Went hard. And I didn't realize, it wasn't until kind of through the second time I'd done this where I really kind of caught on to what was going on in the people's heads. But it was like kind of trying to shortcut the system, trying to buy your way ahead. And it doesn't matter how, we see this all the time with cameras. I don't know, Stephen, I know Nick Hill and we watch a lot of camera channels. But there's an analogy in this. But there's a lot of videos on YouTube about making videos or taking photographs where they'll give a really, really low spec, really terrible camera to a very professional photographer, and they'll give the absolute best camera to someone who is a novice. And it will always, like, the novice photos will look like novice photos. Sometimes they get lucky, or video, especially it's more so with video, real time, capturing something along a timeline, having narrative, all that kind of stuff. A novice with a video camera looks very novice compared to a professional with, a Canon T3i.
Yep.
And I know people who still use Canon T3is, and they look good. I use one.
Yeah.
I use a T5i usually when I'm at home.
Yeah, it looks great. But the analogy in this is that it takes time. Like, what's the difference between the novice and the pro? The pro, really, the big gap between them is just time. Time and also effort along that period of time. So if they both spent the same amount of time, but one person did nothing, you got to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go out and buy a Pro Tools HD system, you get, and all the best plugins in the world and all the best mics and all this sort of stuff, and you're not familiar with how to capture things and how to mix things and how to master things, it's just going to sound like a person who doesn't know how to do any of that
Yeah.
stuff. Doesn't matter how good the gear is. But for some reason that will deflate people. It makes sense why it deflates a person, because it seems like you did so much to get somewhere and you got nowhere.
Yeah, and I think it's even extra deflating when you dump a bunch of money into something and then you have these expectations of like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
You still got to know how to, you still got to, there's so much that goes
Yeah.
into it,
Yeah.
like song composition, spending time writing a
What
song.
was that? Bubbly?
Or
It's a bubbly.
You
I
got
got a
some
bubbly. Oh, you know.
Oh.
I'm adding a little sparkle to my barkle.
I
Is
like
that
it.
their thing?
It's my thing. It's my thing.
We should
I
have.
think Michael Bublé is actually the bubbly spokesperson. Right
Is he really?
Oh,
That is
Bublé's
amazing.
dope.
I was cracking that joke today with Carrie.
That man's
She's-
voice is
It's a
wonderful.
real thing.
And I
Yeah.
think he's semi-retired, so he could take care of his kid or something like that.
That's amazing. Michael
Anywho, that's a
Sorry about
that tangent. You can't distract me with Michael Bublé, man. But yeah, and I think that's the thing where we see it with like in the intro that I so roughly read through. Like we see that with people dropping money on like the newest and greatest processors, modeling processors, or plugins, or guitars for that matter.
And still
And you know
struggling
what?
to get a tone.
Yeah, if you're cool with like being average or mediocre at playing guitar, but you just want to have a sick guitar, that's one thing. But if you buy it thinking it's going to make you a better musician or songwriter,
That usually takes time.
it's not. You still need to play.
Yeah.
You still need to put the time in.
And I just want to kind of highlight what you just kind of touched on there, Nick Hill, with the like if you have the resources and you want to go out and buy an Axe FX or I don't know a custom Music Man guitar, I don't know, whatever. Whatever you want to buy, if you're in that situation and you can afford it, by all means. We're not saying don't get nice things. That's not
Right,
all
that is
what
not what I'm saying.
today's
No.
thing is about.
No.
What we're talking about is doing that with the expectation that it's going to change your life, and then giving up
Yes.
when the reality of it sits in.
Yeah.
And
That-
it could happen on a lower level too. It's not like you have to go spend a ton of money. Just
Oh, for
giving
sure.
up in general.
For sure. I use my kid as an example. Like, we got him a guitar. He put minimal effort into it when he got his first guitar, and kind of like, ooh, this is harder than I thought. Yeah. I mean, and then a while goes by, he doesn't play, and then all of a sudden he started, like, I could hear him over the the course of the last couple years putting in a little bit more time and a little bit more time.
Right.
And he's like, oh wow, it's like so common sense. Like, wow, if I put effort and time into this, I'm gonna go back to skateboarding.
Yeah. You get results.
How long is it? The most basic and fundamental thing in ollie, like you got to practice at it to get anywhere, but you need to have that ollie to do a kickflip and a heel.
Remember the first time you actually got an ollie off the ground?
100% I do. Yeah.
Oh, I remember it.
And then when I ollied up a curb, yeah. But it's like you have to have this one piece first, So, like it's like I could buy a complete for those of the uninitiated, or a board with trucks and wheels and everything. I could buy a complete right off the board. It's like a sick element complete. Let's go. But if you can't ollie, you're not gonna be able to do anything.
Yeah.
You got to learn. You got to start from the beginning.
The fundamental.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people run into in this niche little area we're in. It's like we have access to so much stuff.
Awesome stuff that is not expensive.
So much awesome stuff that's getting more and more affordable for everyone to get into. And they're like, all right, I got Gojira's tone on my laptop, and my laptop can handle this, and I got my, PRS that is $600 and it plays great. Let's do this. But you still got to put time in.
Yeah.
You still got to like practice and
if it
practice
doesn't
recording.
If it doesn't come too quick, don't worry. It comes quicker than you think.
Yeah. and it's very cliche, but you know, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. You know,
Which
I mean,
is
how
a
many
bit
of
of a
us have heard
filter.
that before? You know?
Yeah. Speaking of accessibility, Mr. Stephen,
Hmm.
you joined the ranks with the Apple M1 today. You got the
Hmm.
MacBook Air.
I did.
And how much was it? You bought it in the US, obviously, probably with US funds.
Yeah.
This is like 800 or not even like $600, $700.
No, I think at the I'm selling my old one, so I'll ultimately only end up spending about $500. But
But
uh,
but
after
still, what?
tax,
Yeah.
after tax, it was 11.
Okay. Still, like unbelievably low price for how unbelievably powerful they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of the time that we live in and what we have access to. And
Yeah.
so, what's your first impression of that machine, Stephen?
Um, it's fast. I'm kind of my access is limited because the dongle didn't come in at the same time,
Right.
so I haven't been able to dive into the audio stuff without everything basically not being compatible.
Mm.
Um, I
Right.
did kind of tinker with a pre-existing project from Final Cut
Hmm.
and was able to kind of quickly, scrub back and forth between 4K video and with no issue, which my previous computer really would struggle if you were like trying to go from spot to spot like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, just from that alone, like, granted, I had a hacked version of Final Cut that crashed pretty quickly, uh, but aside from that, when it was working, up until it just decided to be annoyed with me. It's mostly because I updated, because there's a newer version of Big Sur, and I updated it, and that kind of eliminated my hacked
Ruined your
version, I guess.
crack.
Right.
Yeah. So when it was working, I was able to quickly, like, I just pulled up the video I did on the studio tour the other day,
Right.
and that was all shot in 4K on my phone.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
used what I had,
Yep.
and yeah, it was like letting me quickly go from section to section because it's like a 23-minute video all in 4K with a bunch of cuts and stuff. So it was handling it really well, enough that I was like, okay, well, this justified the purchase for me because it's going to make editing higher quality video a lot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have these access to these amazing tools, and I think another thing. Curious, Nick and Stephen, what you think of this, but like we hear because we live in this YouTube age and we're all kind of involved with the YouTube thing. Um, I'm curious what it's like for a person kind of getting into something. You see all these videos, these people making all this stuff and using these things, being like, this thing, it's inexpensive and it's so powerful. And I wonder if it sets people up young. You know, I'd like to hear from all the folks with us in the comment feed if it sets people up for expecting that they should have higher level results out of the gate because of the nature of the world that we live in.
As someone who is a professional psychologist, um, no, I think you're onto something. I think there's
Yeah.
something to that. Like you have this stuff at your fingertips, and you're like, well, this is all the best sounding shit. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, let's just use guitar plugins as like the one thing. Like
Yeah.
in just a few years, like I mean, people are releasing albums that are using plugins as their amps, and you can't tell.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is like you have radio ready guitar tones on your laptop. So my shit should sound like that then.
That's right. Yeah. And it still takes effort. And I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe that part of the message isn't getting across. I'm curious what y'all in the comments have to say about that. And just take a quick little thing, a little sidebar here. But hello, Cosman, Thomas Powell, Electric Meek Puppet, RoughRiffs,
All the dudes in here tonight.
Development of a Void,
Yeah.
Nick, Cosman, I think I said hello already. And am I missing anyone?
Nick, that 16
Abe
inches out, by the way.
was 16 inches out. Whoa.
Yeah, they had it at Best Buy today when I was there. They had a standard 16-inch Mac. It was like $2,500, but they have it for
Really?
the
What?
M1. Yeah, the
M1
16.
16.
Well, yeah, it was just a MacBook Pro 16-inch. It was
Because they are
$2,500.
still selling Intel versions.
They
Let
had
me
to have
pull
been
it up.
mislabeled.
Yeah, possibly. There
Yeah,
was definitely one hanging out.
I think that's what they're going to announce. Not that this is turning into the Apple podcast, but
April 20th, yeah.
yeah.
But
There's so many rumors about that stuff happening right now. My nerd boy self is so excited. Anyway, yeah, I think you're onto something with that, Bun. I think
Yeah.
expectations going into getting all of this stuff, it's very much, the Instagram lifestyle. People
Right.
show something on Instagram.
If I do that, I'll get that result.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious, gang, in the comments, how are you feeling about that? Do you feel like that you should be getting better results more quickly because of the way that things are wrapped up and pitched from videos on YouTube, Instagram stories, whatever the case may be?
Yeah. The biggest place I see it, like I said, is just with people trying to duplicate some of the stuff. Like I do a lot of videos on,
Sounds like.
tones and sounds like, and I basically lay it all out there, and people will just go through the list. I have this, 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 and I did this, and it still sounds like shit. And then, like, I don't want to be mean, but what's the what's the common thread there?
Yeah.
It's the individual. And I'm like, okay, and I just think like maybe you need to put a little more time into it. Maybe you're not hearing things right. Maybe there's any number of variables.
I'm curious for both of you guys in line with that I feel like maybe
Cosman is a good
for
comment.
all of us, do you guys, are you more concerned with things sounding a certain way? Like what was your motivation that led you to now? Was it that you wanted things to sound a certain way, or is it you just had this hankering to make stuff? I feel like you guys just wanted to make stuff and it led you to being able to make stuff better.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I would completely agree with that. I don't know. I'm not much of a tone snob with that stuff. I'm not really that worried about it. If it works, if it gets the idea across, I'm more concerned about that. But it's always been that way because before I even knew about external plugins and stuff like amp sims, and really there weren't a lot of them. There was just like Guitar Rig and a few others at a certain point. I was just using the built-in amp sims and Logic and would tinker with those until I got them to sound okay enough to do what I wanted. So I've never really
Yeah.
cared about that stuff. I just wanted to get the idea from, point A to point Z as quickly as possible.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And I know it might not seem like it, but I also don't. I'm not chasing tone as much as it looks like I do on YouTube.
I don't think you do. No, I don't think you do. I don't get that impression anyway.
I mean, you know me. I just want to be writing for the most part.
Yeah.
And and it's cool being exposed to like Steven's like vibe and tone and structure of his songs, and same with you, Bun. Like when I first discovered you and your music, I'm like, it really changes it. It's like, wow, he has this sound and it sounds sick and it's so different than mine. And I hear Steven's tones and I'm like, dude, this stuff sounds so good and it's so different than mine. And I've even said to like Aaron from Baritone Cult, like the tones he's getting on the stuff that they're working on, like sounds so sick and they're far away from what I do. And I told him, like, I straight up don't know if I could come up with that sound. It's so interesting. And I am definitely more into, and I think that's part of like why I've been such a negative Nancy. I just want to be writing and making music and everything to do with it, and I'm somewhat, and that's why we brought this topic up, is like I'm somewhat distracted, or because I've seen it in myself with this attitude of like, well, I have these things and I did this thing, but I didn't put the time in, so I'm just going to quit or talk shit about it, you know?
Yeah. Don't do it.
That's where this kind of came from.
Whatchamacallit? Has it ever shown up in other places? Like, we're talking a lot about production. I think it's, so I'm curious what you guys have to think about or have to say about this part of it. You come into production for the three of us, from being a guitar player or from being playing music, trying to create music, and eventually you get into this, because technology permits it now, you start producing. It's kind of a good segue where, okay, you're decent enough at playing guitar and putting songs together or whatever, and it's almost like, because you can do that okay, or at least you believe that you can do that okay, you get into this new thing, you add this new layer like production, and then suddenly you're not so good at it, maybe at the very beginning, and you're not really understanding. It's like, oh, I just spent 20 years of my life doing this guitar thing. I should be a little easier on myself. And not being great at producing this week. Maybe it'll take a couple weeks, couple months, couple years. But I think that happens to a lot of people, where they've achieved a certain level of something, they add another layer to it, and then they're not good, but they're not looking at it with that perspective.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever done that to yourself? I've done it to myself, for sure.
Go ahead, Steven.
Oh, I have in both ways, actually. Like, I was kind of trying to be realistic with myself coming out of high school, assuming like, okay, I'm not going to be able to make a career out of playing guitar. So I went to school for audio engineering and production.
Right.
And then I did that for a few years, and then got mad at myself because I didn't feel like I was playing enough, but I was spending a lot of time working on other people's music.
Right. I did the exact same thing.
So then I was like, no, I'm going to stop doing this, and I'm going to start focusing on my own stuff. But in the process, I kind of, over time, because I wasn't riding the bike regularly, for lack of a better term, I lost my feel for production in the way that I wanted. So then I kind of went the other way again and came back to it and played guitar less and worked on production more. And now I'm kind of blending the two to get to a point that I'm happy with both results. But I don't know, the painting's never finished, so you just have to know when to walk away from me. Like,
Right.
Is it okay enough for me to move on and go to the next thing? Because by the time I'm done with it anyhow, I'm already thinking about what's next. It doesn't matter if it is good, bad, whatever. As soon as that thing is done, I'm already on to the next thing anyway. So.
There's an amazing saying for that. I think it's done. We've said it before. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And done is better than perfect. The reason why I think there's so much value in that is that I think perfection is the continued journey towards a worthy ideal, rather than attempting to get it all at once.
Yeah.
It's your life's work more than anything.
I think I saw somewhere perfection is the enemy of creativity.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I still to this day beat myself up about guitar playing, like,
Yeah.
to the point where it's like, what? It's so insane. We have these conversations, and it's like legitimate stuff. Like, we're saying like, hey man, you guys are going through a rough time. It's going to be fine. Like, I know, I feel like me more than the two of you, because Bunn, I know you're like on a productive role right now, like, and I know it ebbs and flows, but I'm like, dude, I can't gain momentum, and then it's like, and then it turns into like, oh wow, I'm a shitty guitar player too. It's like, just something simple.
Yeah.
When this is like, You know, Steven's working on music for Close a Hatch. I hope that's not a secret, Steven. Sorry. Um,
No, it's no secret.
yeah, and I listen to his demos, and I'm like trying to play along with some stuff and like write some stuff. I'm like, wow, I can't do this. This is not wow. And I'm like, well, I just
Yeah.
why do I even yeah, so it just this little nugget of like of self like it's like somebody said it in the comments too, you know, grit. Grit is something like we kind of maybe collectively as a society frown upon nowadays because, you know, participation awards and everything.
Yeah.
But like and Steven and I have talked about, Bun, you know that you know me too. Like I'm so hard on myself because that's the kind of motivation I need.
Right.
And I just find myself having that thing crawl up every once in a while, just saying like,
Well, there is something about human nature where actions typically is the result of something bad happening. You know, motivated by a tragedy.
mm-hmm,
And in this case, the tragedy is not all that tragic. Tragedy is that you're just feeling unmotivated. But nonetheless, it's a very small tragedy. But it's still like sometimes your best work is probably, well, I think some of people's best work rather comes out of that kind of stuff. An immense dissatisfaction for what you're doing, where you're at, or whatever. So there might be
For sure.
there might be some gold that comes out of this, Nick Hill.
yeah, you know, I think we've talked about this on our personal phone calls, and um, like I think when I come off something creative, I know we're deviating from like being a quitter or whatever, impatience and being a quitter.
Well,
When I come off something,
it is kind of like
It
giving up.
correlates.
It correlates through the giving up. It's like, what's the point? That's kind of where we're at with this
yeah,
conversation. So
when I come
continue.
up when I come off something creative, it's like I have this. I know this. I at some point you guys are going to pick up on it because we're getting closer and closer every day, but when I have something like Wells comes out and I'm proud of it and people dig it. And now look where I am. I did the same. I've done this with every track I've released. It's a cycle. I notice
Yeah.
it. Or if I put out a video, that I really really like,
Yeah.
or that I get out of, that I like, it's creative. I'm working on one now. I'm sure it's gonna do shit, but I don't care. You know, I put a ton of I'm doing B-roll and just like more cinematography into it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the video for me because I want to do a video, and I
That's the
found
way to do
something
it.
useful. But it's gonna come out, and I'm gonna be like, "Ugh, what a waste of time." I know it's gonna happen, you know. I know it's gonna happen. It happens with my music, and the thing you said, it's like, out of tragedy usually comes something creative or beautiful, and I think you're right. And I know that I'm not living any sort of tragic life right now. Not at all. The biggest bummer was that I had work to do, and I did work, and it slowed my progress. I have a good life. I'm not even complaining.
Yeah.
The point, and that's part of it, is like, I know the cycle. I know I'm just in a bit of a slump, and because I know these things, I'm annoyed at myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It like adds
Which is,
to it.
which is
Like,
actually can be a positive.
yeah, but I know how I sound and am with my close friends when I'm like this, and
Right.
it's annoying to me that I'm being annoying to you, even though
Yeah.
you guys won't say I'm being annoying.
No, it's what we're here for. It's what this show is for. I'm curious, Stephen and Nick, continuing on that sort of topic, like what I take away from a lot of kind of where you're at with that sort of cycle of like output and then kind of, decompression or whatever, is that you're gassing out, is that a whole bunch of energy goes into something. And this might even be a thing for this, a person who is all gassed up. It's like, oh, I went out, I got the interface, I got the software to record, I got the plugins, and I'm going to get into it. And you get it all set up and you go through the frustration of making all that work. And then you're out of energy. And I wonder if the gas out is a thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Stephen, do you ever gas out? Uh, and if you do, on what kinds of things? Like, where have you noticed in the pattern of it?
Uh, Setting unrealistic expectations for myself, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, that I have an idea it's not unreasonably big, but it's big enough that it needs to be broken down into steps and kind of achieved in phases versus like I'm going to be able to finish this and it's going to be amazing. And I have tunnel vision when I work on things, so it's hard for me to get back into them once I get
Yeah.
away from them.
You've shared that
So
before.
yeah, so it's hard like for me personally. Like I get to where it's even like if there wasn't like in a band situation, if I didn't have other people helping roll the ball along at times, a lot of that stuff would never come to fruition. There are examples, and then I mean, I've shared them with Nick too, and I'd be happy to send them to you. But I have a bunch of demos from different projects that I've kind of tinkered with starting that just haven't gone anywhere because I get to the point with it where I like, okay, here's 6 or 7 ideas that are kind of in this vibe, and then it's like, okay, maybe I don't want to do that now that I've gotten like, so I've already kind of, and they end up just being background music on my videos most of the time. But
That's it,
Right.
dude. That's exactly what I do. I mean, that's your like you had a little steam in this genre because I listened to your electronic stuff, and then you're like, it's not good. I'm not gonna do anything with it. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
Dudes, I want to grab a few comments. I wonder if you guys can get your eyes on a few. And I'm going to start it off with what I don't. I'm going to make my screen bigger though, so I can read it. With
Nick
what
Riverson?
Nick has to say here. Enjoy the peaks, relish the troughs. Troughs make the peaks higher. Higher peaks make the troughs deeper. And this is,
Yeah, that's
there's a
good.
lot of value in I think realizing that and trying to maybe monitor it. This is something that I noticed in myself this past year. I put a lot of pressure on myself coming into 2021, having these big plans, and then it's just like challenge after challenge, gas out after gas out. And then I realized, my troughs were going very deep, and I was reaching for very high peaks. And I've come to the conclusion recently, Nick, like what you're saying about, that I'm on a roll or whatever. Well, I'm not on a roll. What's going on? What's
Let me
going
just
on
get
with
that
me?
straight.
Yeah. What's going on is I've chosen to commit to one major thing per day and manage that. I'm like, okay, what is one major thing that I can task myself to per day that is in relationship to output? And I just commit to it. And all of the little stuff, social media and all these other things, not that those things there's things I like about it. And they're not a nuisance, but they do get in the way of making killer videos or producing killer tracks. So the social media and everything else comes from creating the killer tracks and creating the epic video. So focus on making the video, focus on writing the music, and then the social media comes out of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy currently.
No, and when we're both, I mean, we talked about this. We were doing Steven's big today. We were doing our weekly videos for like we talked about this. What we started like last April. We're like we're gonna do a video a week,
Yeah.
and we even said something insane like 2. And Bunn,
You
you're
said
like,
2.
oh yeah, I said 2.
I was like, no,
And
I'm
you're like, let's
gonna
do
do
one a
one.
week. He's like, you'll have 2 a week. You're doing your
Live
your
stream.
streams. Do
Yeah.
your stream. Do the one produced video, and we did that together for a long time, and
It was very difficult.
it was very difficult.
Especially
And
I was working a job like you
were
work at
working,
home.
you were working.
I was
you had to
working
go to a
away.
place
Yeah.
and work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it too, is like I just faltered from that. Why? Because I had to go somewhere for work, And yes, I could have planned for it. I have done that before.
Right.
But I fell off that one video a week thing, and I think that has been contributing to it.
Is it weighing on your?
Yeah.
Does it feel like a failure? It shouldn't, but it can, I guess.
It does, and then at times I think logically, like you just said, like it's not a big effing deal, bro.
Right.
Like I've actually gotten a crap load of subscribers in the last couple days, and I haven't done anything, like this week.
Right. Because
What's that like?
Yeah. Steven's being dry.
Well, based on the comments, you can have some of them.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
You're being
That's pure Nick
so
right
dry.
there. That's
Yeah.
pure Nick right there. You guys.
Either of you guys got an eye on a
Yeah,
comment?
I got one right here. One of my other best buddies, Dylan. Nice topic I gave up years ago. What do you want to know? The thing about Dylan is he's been very open with me about him. He's a musician. He's an amazing guitar player, despite what he's gonna inevitably comment in the comment section. But we had a long talk, and he just said like he's not getting joy out of it. So he's like he's been contemplating he's not entirely sure what the point of continuing with the playing and stuff like that is. And at that point, like if you're not getting any joy out of it or fulfillment, then that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Well, if something else is providing that for you, then that's the answer, right?
It must be. I'm sure he has so many great things going on in his life.
Yeah, he comes on here to stir shit.
He's very good at it.
He's a comedic force.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And right, Stephen, you're not actually logged into the back end. But
no, my audio wouldn't work if I did.
Right, we'll figure that out. But my dad had a long, successful career in business, Dylan says, and he swears by getting just one thing done per day. Soon you have so many things done and are much farther than trying to bite everything at once.
You've had this philosophy as long as I've known you, I think. Like
but I changed
this before.
I changed the criteria of it recently.
We need to have an internal discussion then, a team meeting, because I think
it's where you put the priority. It's like priority is like the A-list items. So producing videos, writing, and producing songs.
Yeah, and I think that's what went into our weekly video challenge. Was like it was not a challenge. It was me and you being like trying to push one another, and that was the crux. Music and a produced video. Yeah. And the rest will follow.
Yeah. Stephen, you're in Ohio right now. So for those of you watching who don't know, Stephen bides his time, half of his time in Canada and half of his time in the United States. And it's a little bit in flux, but you still get a lot done, Stephen. What is your system kind of like this? Like, do you have a, one thing a day type of list, or I don't know, like what do you do?
Yeah, it's more so like juggling a bunch of little things a day versus like one major thing. Because I'm in school again, so I'm doing that on the computer. So more so I try to because my schooling, I get, what are my tasks are for the week. I have a few things that are always due on Thursdays and a few things that are due on the following Monday. So I kind of build the rest of my schedule around that right now, and then fit in time for dad life stuff as well. But basically I look at it from like my kids is usually gone from 8:30 until around 3:30 every day. So I usually just try to get up when she gets up when I'm in town here, and get as much stuff done with that first few hours, whether it's school stuff, which will give me free time to do this stuff, or vice versa. But lately I've just kind of been leaning on things like demo videos and things that are just easy to do.
Yep.
So I can at least keep the ball rolling, and more so that it doesn't yield much results as far as the website, or not website, but like YouTube goes and plays and things sometimes, but it keeps the wheels greased, so to speak.
Yep. I think there's a lot of value to that.
So that I'm not creating some sort of like atrophy in that creative process. So at least I'm doing something,
Yeah.
whether it's my best work or not, it's something. And I realize like the demo videos and stuff aren't the most exciting thing. Um, but they're a thing. I mean, this past couple of weeks, I've had two of those, one for Guitar Fetish and then one for that Fine company, which the Fine thing was sponsored, but it was kind of, it gave me a way to do something and to try something that I wouldn't normally do because testing
Mhm.
a microphone is weird.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, essentially, it's just if I keep some sort of momentum moving, then everything else does. But I have, well, I'm in Ohio, I always have at least two times during the few weeks I'm here that I have rehearsal or I'm working on a record right now. So we get together for that stuff. So I make time for everything. And then outside of that, like I'm exporting stems for drum recordings. And I keep myself busy because if I don't, I'm similar to Nick in that I just start becoming very hard on myself.
Right.
And it's a downward spiral that I know I have enough awareness of my own anger with myself for those things and my own propensity for becoming depressed and self-destructive in that regard. Not necessarily like going out and partying, but like
Yeah.
just kind of buying into the spiral, so to speak. That if I don't keep something going at all, like at all times, if there's not some sort of creative, that's like I don't know. I mean, a lot of the guys here may not know it, but like I do like commission cartoon artwork for people too. So that's also a thing. Like when I start reaching out to people for that type of stuff, it's also because I'm out of ideas somewhere else and I just need to keep scratching the itch
Yeah, that's
somehow.
good. That's good. Yeah.
And Rough Riffs says Gear Stuff and Things. I love what appears to be a hanging dinosaur in the background.
Yeah, that's the what is that? The not Indoraptor or whatever, one of those things. This is my daughter's room at my mother's place that
Oh
I'm
wow.
sitting in.
Okay.
Which is so hence the horse pictures there and then the dinosaur and it's a
Uh-huh.
nice mixture of things.
A dino horse.
Dino horse.
Yeah, but I don't, and I mean, I have, action figures here too because I'm a child. But so, yeah,
I have them too. It's okay.
Whatchamacallit, 13 Flies says, I get that tunnel vision too can be a hindrance, I guess, as sometimes it makes ideas forced. I don't know. Are forced ideas a bad thing to exercise on? I don't know if they necessarily are.
I, yeah, that's a good question, and I would lean towards no because sometimes
Like
forcing
Steven
yourself
is saying,
to
keeping
do
the wheels
something.
greased.
Yeah, exactly. Forcing yourself sometimes to do something or write something. I did this for this video. I'm
Yeah.
like, I wrote some riffs, and I'm like, no ideas. I'm like, just write this type of riff. Like I'll do that. I'll like write a Nick Hill version of a black metal riff or something stupid, like something I wouldn't normally do. Not that it's stupid, you know what I mean.
I got
But and then I'll just like some riffs will come out and I'm like, okay, that's not half bad.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, put it together. I've definitely walked away with
He does. There's
some
flaws. Sorry.
I've walked away with some really serious fruit as a result of forcing myself and forced ideas. Sometimes it's a buzz when something just naturally just poops out of you, and you're like, "Whoa, where'd that come from? That's amazing!"
Yeah.
It's a
you
buzz.
Can't count on that.
No,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't see any reason not to kind of like push yourself.
The thing. Oh, where did I hear this?
I'm gonna. You guys are gonna be without Bunn for a minute
Yeah,
here.
go pee. So my buddy Sergio, who I've worked with on like the hip hop side of my music creativeness, like he'll always say like you just got to produce a beat a week, a beat a week, a beat a week, a beat a day, a beat a day. You got to get through all those, shitty ones to find a good one, and it's not like you're trying to make bad stuff. The same goes for riffs. You're not trying to write bad riffs, but you got to go. It's like you just got to get through them, and then you're going to stumble upon something that's like a keeper, you know? Like, Steven, how many, you know, you sent me your demos, like, how many? Okay, just leave then. You just left. It's fine. I guess I'm just all by myself. Anyway, you got to work through that stuff to get to a better place, if you will. Right? That threw me off. He just like, I'm gonna leave. So, how's everybody doing? Oh, his laptop died. Yeah, but I don't mean to come across like I'm a victim and I'm a sad sack. It happens, you know, it happens once in a while. Oops.
Here I am. Whoa.
Whoa.
Did I just knock you out?
What
Huh?
happened?
How come?
Oh.
What do I? Oh,
That's why.
there we go.
What?
Whoa! Look at this. That was a wild view. Whoa.
Sorry about that. My AirPods died on me.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Do you have the
Are you
fine?
using your fine?
It won't. I don't have the dongle for the M1 yet,
right.
so I can't use it.
Stupid Mac.
Double fine.
Unfortunate.
And you're like, fine.
The thing about it is
Just dealing with it for now.
the thing about it is like
I still
think,
can't hear Nick though.
What? Why not?
At all?
No, can you?
Yeah, I can hear him. Great.
What the hell, man?
That'll be confusing.
Restream is super cool.
Yeah. Nick, I'm curious. You can't hear him at all.
No.
Why not?
Nick.
Hello?
Wow.
Bunn, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you, Chris. Man, my picture looks so blue.
Good. Oh, yeah. Why can't Steven
All
hear
right. Well, technical difficulties are cool. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I was
What the heck?
saying, yeah, it was funny. You went pee, and then I started talking to Steven, and he just disappeared. So I was talking to myself.
Oh, okay. You're just getting it going.
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit? There we
think we
go.
need to-
So now we're
we need
kind
to
of
bring him in. You might need to.
Oh, do we have to
engage.
bring him in? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I think we just.
Just do that. There we go. Okay.
All right.
Right.
I can hear everybody now.
Right.
Yay.
Okay. Yes. Was
I
it?
was gonna say. The video with the USB mic is useful because you told me that like the guts of it are just the same thing as a Yeti.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Which,
if you
like-
actually like go look at the Yeti, it's literally the same thing with a different base on it.
Right.
The Yeti has an angular thing that's done that looks more like the blue logo. If you look at it from the side.
Right.
Otherwise, they're literally the same thing. One is just been anodized a different color. And when I researched it, they're literally the same capsule, same manufacturer. Blue outsources
it's a
those.
Scam, dude.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
we're spending money on those Yetis.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like Artie's idea.
Yeah. Turn all of our headphones off and just chat roulette.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, maybe we can steer this back towards the topic.
yeah,
a
let's
little
steer
bit.
back there.
Yes. Sorry, I messed up the flow there.
No,
that's okay.
It was a
like it.
whole thing. It was a whole.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing.
If anyone who is recently with us, today's topic is kind of the give up, the the lack of patience, and it happens with a lot of folks when they add a layer to what they're already doing and kind of have this expectation that it's going to be great because everything else that they do has been going rather well, and a lot of times it takes a whole new level of effort and study. And I guess the point, our takeaway so far is that, it just keep trucking and take it in small bites. Would
Yeah.
you guys say that's where we're at?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, build in. It's like we have the luxury of some level of self awareness and each other to bounce our experiences off of, and maybe age, of course, where it's like expect e- e- expect that you're gonna probably not be good at this thing despite the tools you have. Just
Yeah.
have some level of it. I mean, go into it confidently, but have some level of
Yeah.
like, okay, there's a chance that I could suck at this, and also grace. Like you have to give yourself grace, and it's something that my bosses, I am working for a woman-owned company. Not that it matters, but it does matter because they think about things a little bit differently, and they always say like you have to have a level of grace for yourself, and I'm clearly not giving it to myself when it comes to YouTube and producing right now. But like we've talked about this when I haven't been in this mood, and other people in the chat have. It's like, when people are saying like I'm gonna sell my gear, or I'm just not good enough. It's like you got to give yourself grace. Like, do you want to get better? Yeah, okay. Like Aaron said in the chat, like do something to go in that direction. Like you've said about your
Just one thing.
production. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you've said about your perceived like momentum. I'm
Yeah.
doing one thing in that
Yeah.
direction. Steven is like, I'm doing one thing to keep the wheels going.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, I have been doing things, but they haven't been like translating to production or produce or product or output is the word I'm looking for. Output. Like I've
Yeah.
been working on the Baritone, which is like coordinating parts coming in and working with people to like contribute to it, like on a small level, is one thing, and then putting it together, and you know everything that goes into that, and then working. It's like I have been, but it's
You're
not
doing a lot, but
yeah,
you,
it's not reflected in the output. And I think now that we've talked about it in the open, it's probably more like an expectation of like what are people seeing, you know?
right. Do you
And
feel like for the both of you, this brings up a really good topic? Is like that once you start the ball bouncing in terms of getting stuff out on a relatively frequent basis, that there's a little bit of a dopamine thing going on there, a little bit of a pride thing going on there, and if you miss it, or if you spend too much time before you get that next hit of getting something out, that it impacts your psychology negatively, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Do you guys feel that? Has that been? I think that's what's happening to you a little bit, Nick. Stephen, have you had that happening with yourself? You have very consistent output.
I have it, but my consistent output mostly is there because I am hard on myself.
Right.
And I have times where like I don't, because I'm doing a lot of silly stuff. Like I do the podcast with my wife once a week, and more recently I've been doing this once a week. I'm doing at least one or two videos a week right now. I try to do at least one a week, and then I have school stuff. I have my kid. Like I'm juggling a lot of things, but part of that is like it's just how I function. I don't know. I don't really have a excuse for it, or
Right.
can't say it's good or bad. It's just I know that if I was doing nothing,
You'd be miserable.
I'd be completely miserable.
Yeah. I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
I'm the exact same way, and it's why I point it in the directions that I can. Because not everybody's
Nick?
like that either.
No, it is.
I feel like a lot of
personality
what
type.
you do for a living, Nick, probably adds a lot to what you do for YouTube, though, since they're similar worlds in a way.
Yeah.
Like it probably without you acknowledging it, I'm sure like you filming a commercial or something for a company doesn't feel like making a video about creating a helix tone or something, but
in some way those things have to inform one another.
Yeah, there is a level of that, but there's also a level of um, when I shoot the stuff I shoot for my work, I'm like, I usually leave with cool ideas because I work with some great people and talented people and who have like really good gear. And I'm like, also, I suck, but in a good way. Like, I try to learn from the people around me, and I'm surrounded by coworkers who are good and I can learn from. So I always come back from a trip, albeit tired, because these last two shoots have been um, pretty huge. Um, but I also come back like inspired as far as like because I just talked about cameras and video for a week straight, and then we shot a bunch. So yeah, they do. It is helpful because I still do get some of that like creativeness out. It's just you guys will probably never see it.
Right.
I think the difference is that it's working, so it probably doesn't feel like it's self motivated, obviously, because it's your motivation is an income. Uh,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I kind of look at it this way, like you're doing a job that a lot of people would probably be envious of because it is in a certain way creative. Um, but it's just like anything else. If you love ice cream and you work at an ice cream place, eventually the last thing you want is ice cream.
Yeah.
So
I've
it's
said it before and I'll say it again. I won't ever complain about my job. And yes, of course, there's always a level of like, well, I got to go to work, but it is not lost on me for 1 second. And I'm glad I'm in a position to think this way now because I've had just jobs. If we could have a show on just the jobs I've had. I swear.
me
It's
too.
not lost on me what I do. So that isn't a detriment to me when it comes to this, I guess. Is it?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sorry I interrupted you, Bun. I apologize.
No, it was like 100% on.
That's what we do.
Our conversation is always on. I like it. I'm going to bring this one up here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
Oh boy,
No, that doesn't work.
that is
I
weird.
like it though. You just got to move in the middle.
That's good. That's the best one, I think.
That's the one. Well, I want to do this with a little comment, right? I want to bring a comment up. You don't get this. I didn't want you to be obliterated by comments. But anyhow, the Cosman says, I've been at this a long time. Only recently did the Cosman realize I kind of sound like me. Realizing that you have a sound. Most of us have our own sound, but fail to see it possibly. Embrace your sound. Yeah, when you finally kind of come to the conclusion, or I guess it's twofold. Either A, you get to a point where you're like, oh, like I do have a sound. It's a sweet feeling. It's a sweet thing to recognize. It's like, oh wow, like you just don't see it coming. And yeah, it only comes as a result of like just sticking to it. That's one of those things that comes out of doing it for a long time. It's that time thing again. But there are benefits to sticking it out, especially for the love. Not to say that you shouldn't seek to monetize your life. It's not where I'm going with this. But if your motivation is the love of it, the joy of it, I think you end up in that situation.
Yeah.
That's its own reward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I threw
get
this
at it.
comment. I threw this comment up because Aaron
Yep.
says I had to pull back on YouTube, but doing that, I've completed 5 new songs. The whole thing is a tough call. So, Bunn and I, Stephen more and more, like we have these conversations, and Bunn has been there too. It's like, well, I want to get this track out, or I want to get that. Like, you can. It's funny me saying this right now. You can be okay with redirecting your energy to these things because now you have 5 new tracks that you can do potential videos for, that you can discuss your tone on, that you can go over production if you want. You know,
Yeah.
there's any amount of things can come from one song. And, you know, Bun and I think about this stuff all the time. So the time that you've stepped away from YouTube for a couple weeks, it's not been lost, Aaron. You know, you guys have put together 5 songs. You know,
Yeah.
it's most of an album, man. You know, so that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
Those things can lead to content too. So it's, you know, as
Yeah.
you were saying.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's where we, as the creatives, have to find, and Bun's always helpful with this. Like, what creative thing can you get out of this song? Like, and Bun is so good at it. You know, if you go back and look at his videos, like, he has his music in it, and, you know, his tones now. It's like it's all connecting. It's all connecting, and you can't do that if you don't have any fucking music.
You got to write the music.
Right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
good.
Miles, I noticed in the background of some of Miles' videos and posts and stuff, he has a thing that just has, I think it says "My Music"
Yeah.
on there. I don't know if the goal is to reinforce kind of what we're saying to himself, but to remind himself to focus on his own things versus other things.
Yeah.
Miles not in the chat today.
I haven't seen him.
We'll get him. We'll loop him into another video.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Bun will be absent, and it will be the trifecta of Stephen, Nick, and
I'm gonna
Miles.
take a
Well-
buncation.
We'll keep doing a
We
round
love
robin.
Bun. We want Bun in him all the time.
Round robin. Could we do 4? I guess we could do 4. It would
Why
be
not?
Wild.
Up to 10 guests.
Oh,
That
wow.
sounds horrible.
Does it though?
10 people?
Yeah.
10 audio.
I mean, you and I barely got through one a week ago.
Oh man. Well, there's extenuating factors that went into that.
For me,
Stuff
there
going
were.
on.
Yeah.
But Development of a Void says, you know how too much of anything is bad. Too much introspection is poison to the flow of action, and this is true. I've been guilty of it. I know a lot of people who get really caught up in thinking way too much about things, creatively or business wise or otherwise. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Sometimes you just action is what needs to
Yeah,
happen.
action
Yep.
is what needs to happen. And Self-Inflatable follows it up with, I've had to force ideas go both ways.
Yep.
Absolute trash and pleasant surprises.
Same.
And this is part,
Same.
you don't knock every single one out of the park. But when you do, and you're not expecting it, it's so sweet.
Yeah, and like he's saying, it's like the pleasant surprises would have never happened if you didn't try and force that thing, you know?
Yeah, if you weren't going for
So
it.
it's
Exactly.
like, yeah, it's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's
What I was
interesting.
trying to say before my headphones died, and then I got in this loop of failure that is Restream, is there's a book, and I've referenced it in a few of my videos, called The War of Art. It's a Stephen Pressfield book.
Yeah, I've read that book.
It's a fantastic book. Every couple of years, I'll listen to the audiobook on trips if I need motivation, or I will just read the book if I'm at home, because both the audio and the physical book are very short. But his whole principle is that it's built on repetition, coming at things over and over again. Not everything you do is going to be great, but somewhere amidst all of your shit is going to be one thing that is good or good enough to spark something else that'll be better.
Yeah.
And so you have to maul through the lulls and the disinteresting things to you to find the thing that sparks something bigger. So, and it works that way with every time. So once the gym is complete, you'll have to go through some more shit to find another one.
Yep.
I've definitely, been attempting to protect that process a lot lately. Just make sure that it shows up every day. A huge thing throughout COVID that I got into was like just having too many beers too often. not like alcoholic levels, but I didn't drink very much before that ever. And like once a week with Artie or whatever, I'd have a few beers. But then in COVID, I started having all these beers and just being like kind of slow all the time. And it effed up my progress. And yeah, I'm like, so no more beers at all. And just like protect the progress.
Yeah, you have to kind of you have to find a path that works, and
Yeah.
sometimes just the most basic of distraction, you don't realize it is a distraction until later. Which the
Yeah.
Pressfield book basically categorizes that as resistance. Anything that is not you creating is resistance.
Yeah.
No
It's a
matter what
great
it is.
book.
Yeah,
It's a great book. It's I do the same thing, Stephen. Like at least once a year I listen to it. And I have a few books like that kind of like
The
take me-
Outliers is similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Outliers is good.
10,000 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And 10,000 hours, just in case anybody's ever heard that and they've not read it, 10,000 hours isn't like this critical number. It's just like an example. You know, if
Yes.
you're like, I gotta read this book about this 10,000 hours, and if I can get my 10,000 hours in, then I will dominate.
Yeah,
It's just an example. It's like a
The
figure.
the concept is that you're not a professional at something until you've reached 10,000 hours of practice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you pay attention to a lot of people reference that. I mean, even Jerry Seinfeld references it. And
Yeah.
Rogan's reference it. There's all kinds of different worlds that mention it. But even like more recently, I posted something on the Instagram a while ago that like I was watching a home studio tour of Phineas, who produced the Billie Eilish stuff, and he had it like written in Sharpie above his door, like going out of his door. And then had it later on when he started making money, had it made in neon on the wall at 10,000 hours. But I mean, it's about dedication, just like
Yeah, I
putting
think-
in the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I think it's
Getting in
like-
your
it's
reps.
Like, yes, exactly. Put it in your reps. It's like an earwig too. Like if you're thinking about it, like mixing, you know, or you know, practicing a particular technique on guitar. It's like I don't know what 10,000 hour means or feels like or looks like. You know, I haven't done the math, but I don't think I'm at 10,000 hours for anything I do here. So the point is keep putting in those reps and that effort, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone that, even if you're at that level, you have to acknowledge that you're not ever there. Like,
Exactly.
if you get to 10,000 hours and you're actually calculating it, well, then you
I'm
need
done.
you need to reset to 0 and
Yeah.
get back to your 10,000 hours.
Yeah, because there's 10,000 hours that is required in another finite detail.
Exactly.
Yep.
Of
Think and
that.
Grow Rich is another
Yeah.
good one. Yep.
Oh yeah, very good one.
Napoleon.
Cosman says, if you think about your favorite artist, a lot of releases have maybe one or two great tracks on them. Some have a bunch more, but it's true what he says. They are very rare for an artist to have a CD that is just slamming the entire way through. And I guess maybe many of us have an example in our head of one or two CDs that is the case, but how many CDs? Well, we're showing our age here. No one.
Hey, I
Very
still
few-
have CD. I try and buy a CD anytime I
Yeah.
can.
I still think in terms of CDs or records or tapes
Yeah.
or whatever, an
Still buy
album.
vinyl and CDs.
But
Same.
you know, for those of you in the chat who are still interested in albums, we'll just say albums, even if it is on Spotify. Yeah, there are very few that are slamming all the way through, but you know, the ones that you are thinking of, they're very special. But to hold yourself to that standard, I think the people who make those records don't realize that they make them, and they may not even really love their own album.
Oh,
Well, there's that, or that maybe
Yeah.
the opposite, or they love it regardless of the reception.
Right, right.
Because
That's a great point.
it's their thing, and I think about that a lot, because the things that we kind of pick apart, will, like, I'm sure someone else, maybe they didn't, but maybe they did. More often than not, maybe they did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing that I'm tearing
Yeah.
apart. So I'm no different if I'm trying to achieve a thing and no one else likes it. they're the same. It's the same reception one way or the other.
Yeah.
They're still putting in the hours and they're still putting in the time. It may not be what I like or what someone else likes, but it's still the same idea, and they probably have the same attachment to it and the same frustrations, the same regrets, or anticipations of it having been better. All those things we're talking about, everyone else that's had some sort of record or release has probably dealt with every version of that.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but during this like poignant discussion about this, probably the worst band pops in my head with the worst song, and I'm like, I wonder if they really I wonder if they really loved their album they put out. And I can't think of the name of the band. All I remember the song was like had this funky bass line, and then it was like, come my baby, come my baby.
I know who you're talking about.
It's called Crazy Town.
Crazy Town.
and that song is a Red Hot Chili Peppers sample. So the reason that
That's
it's
a Flea riff?
Yeah.
So it's the reason that it works and that you're like, oh, that sounds good, is because they didn't write it.
Yes, universe.
They basically
on.
they just put different lyrics over top of it and then made a short career out of it.
Yeah, I have heard from folks who work in that business on those levels that that
music.
collection of folks was kind of a put together thing by one person, and the whole thing was just to kind of make a job for themselves in the music business.
Well, the one guy still puts out records that are like dance electronic stuff. Like he kind of became a DJ.
Right.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it's so like this is self-employed says majority of my favorite artists are slamming all the way through, and I know a lot of the artists that he's talking about, and I'll agree, but it's the most unrealistic.
Oh, Artie, you've gone too far with this comment, my friend.
What's the next one? I've never heard of 12-Foot Ninja, but based on the name, I'm going to assume
You couldn't be more wrong. And the funny thing is, you'll never, ever know, because I know you won't listen to them.
No,
it's
okay.
it's interesting stuff. It doesn't do anything for me personally, but it's
I love that band. I think they're unique.
I enjoy what the guy is doing with his guitar setup. I think that's really interesting and brilliant. But yeah, the music as a whole does nothing for me.
Yeah,
but
every project, or not every project, but there are lots of projects that have very divided audiences, and I think you're doing something right if you have a divided audience. I think if you please too many people, that something's not right. Like if it's just McDonald's, it's maybe that's the worst thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure 12-Foot Ninja is a lot more musically palatable than like Lightning Bolt, which I really enjoy, which is just chaos and but
not always. Lightning Bolt's all over the place.
Right.
Well, chaos in that way as well. Like they do have palatable material.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, worlds apart, but I'm sure that if you're someone who really enjoys them, chances are you're not like, I really like this.
No. Yeah. But yeah, the mix is what makes everything work and what makes everything enjoyable.
That's the.
I agree with the
thing,
Mastodon stuff that's happening here.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a little Mastodon content?
People love Mastodon. Seems to be unanimous. I dig when you guys talk about music that I never heard of. That you're so like, oh, this album is so great.
Seems
I like that.
Stephen and I kind of circled in very similar scenes in our.
You guys are way
adulthood.
cooler than me.
I think
there
we were
just a lot of noise bands growing up.
Yeah.
And it's all interesting to me.
All of that Maximum Rock and Roll and Heart Attack zine stuff. More Heart Attack zine stuff than anything.
You see, that's the cool thing about having grown up, like you guys kind of live in the same like parallel. I grew up on the West Coast where it was like way different,
It was happening there. It just like
in a different
way
though.
In that way. Like
really?
Heart Attack zine is from Goleta, California.
Oh, see,
You know?
I know shit. I know
Yeah.
nothing.
Maximum Rock and Roll is also from California. You know, Gilman
I'll just
Street
see my
Club
way
is
out then.
in California. Yeah, it's just like it's one of those things that, unless definitely one of those scenes that if you don't know about it, you'll probably never find it. Like you kind of have to be going in that direction already, or there's something about the subculture that it speaks to initially at that time. It wasn't so easy to find. You know, it wasn't stocked in every record store. It was stocked in very few record stores, actually.
Yeah.
Uh,
There was
Usually, it
this.
was mail order records.
Yeah. There was a record store in Cincinnati that's still there. And they're still primarily vinyl. It's called Shake It,
Yep.
and you can order stuff from them. A lot of people from all over the world order things from Shake It because a lot of small pressings only go to that store and then make their way out into the world.
Dude, that's sick.
And that's how I discovered a lot of bands. That's how I discovered Tegan and Sarah, as odd as that is. But like I realized they were a thing in Canada and associated with Neil Young and all that, but in the States they kind of became an underground thing and then bloomed.
Yeah.
And similarly with things like Lightning Bolt and a lot of the noise rock of the early 90s, Helmet and Hum and all that stuff, Quicksand,
Jesus Lizard.
Jesus Lizard for sure. All that
Were
stuff.
you ever into Oxbow?
I was and still am.
Awesome.
Super cool. I remember I found the band King Missile there. And if you're not familiar with King Missile,
so
like
funny.
later on, King Missile had a bit of a moment because they were on Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
But they continued to have a career after that. I don't know, just like there's a lot of stuff that you would find that way. That, and I was friends with a lot of weirdos that had strange record collections. It would be like, hey, I got this Sonic Youth record, or like Thurston Moore's solo record. I'm like, it's just noise, and they're like, yeah, that's awesome. I don't know. I found, what is that, Sturgis Rose. I found them through those type of like tape trading scenarios.
Right.
Which that band, I still love that band, but super
Yeah.
weird ambient stuff.
Yeah.
Just yes, detachable penis read. They also have a super cool song called "Double Fucked by Two Black Studs," and that one is that's a hit. They have a song called "Everything Up My Ass," which I think the chorus is something to do with commemorative statuettes of liberty up my ass. Like,
Good lord.
I'll find some of it and send it to you, Nick. It's full of hits.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
good times, yeah. Electric Meat Puppet says, I always relate things back to when I studied martial arts. I had to work really hard and discipline for years to earn my black belt. So many useful lessons learned. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really helps, I think, when you're attempting to do something personal, like music, whatever, like, it's not like going to a job. It's not like, especially if you're doing it by yourself, if you're doing the solo creator thing, you having some discipline for it is very necessary. But what happens is, what I've noticed is, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, if this is your own scenario in some way, but a lot of people who come into the music thing don't necessarily have a history in any kind of disciplined activities like this. And something I've noticed is, people who come from martial arts, people who come from a rigorous sort of faith, and people who had any kind of like heavy duty sports background. Typically when they do take to music, they're like, oh, I have an art side as well. And they take to music or some kind of art. They just friggin' dominate because they have that discipline kind of built into them already. But if you don't have it and you're, say, an early adult or even a later adult and attempting to kind of go at this thing, it might be easier to give up and give in to small barriers or poor results early on, because that discipline isn't there, and that sort of, marine like thinking. It's like, never give up.
Yeah, you know what? I wonder if there's there's something to that for sure. And I think that's also something people don't like acknowledging is like, well, maybe this isn't your thing. You know?
Yeah, or maybe it's like you've just never had a reason. Maybe this is your reason, and it's like, oh, if there's anything to not give up on, now is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I say that maybe this isn't your thing because maybe if you ask that question of yourself, you can be like, no, 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 it is. Like I truly okay. You
Right.
have to have a level of
Absolutely.
nerddom to that thing, you know? Like we like Bunn, like you and I study cameras and cinematography and shit having nothing to do with music, you
Yeah.
know, because
I spend unbelievable amounts of time on
I
that
s-
when I
yeah.
should be spending time on
In
music.
between work and stuff, I watched any number of color correction videos
Yeah.
or like on Skillshare. It was like when I have a lull in work that I'm doing,
Yeah.
I train because I'm a nerd. So if you don't have that for the thing you're pursuing creatively, then when you come up against those small hurdles and obstacles, you're more susceptible to them, I think.
Yeah. 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 The best way to be impervious is to keep doing it to build up the calluses, the emotional calluses, as well as on the fingers. Electric Meat Puppet brings up
Thanks,
Oceanic.
JW.
Oceanic, great ISIS record. Remission,
Album.
the best
Albums.
Mastodon album ever.
Oceanic
And
is the best
Lateralis.
ISIS record.
I think it's a really good one, but I am a Panopticon fan.
I like Panopticon. ISIS became ISIS on Oceanic.
It's true. It's
Whoa.
true. 100%.
I'm not.
But yeah, look at all these references
anymore.
here. Ghost references, all personal tastes, of course. Meat Puppet. We could hang out.
Meat Puppet, I'm a still life kind of guy.
JW and I am I
Still
not
life.
allowed to enjoy myself, JW?
No, no joy. By the way, I see Apoplexia in there and JW. Hello. And Eric Jutsu. Hello. What time are we at here? 9:33 American time. That's what I was gonna say.
American time,
Standard.
yes, imagine. Imagine if that's how it worked.
Well, it is American time. This is North America. Technically, it is
That's true. You're right.
Semantics.
semantics.
Yes, 9:30. Yeah.
What do we do here? I got a half hour in me. We usually go till 10.
Yeah,
to
I'm
10,
good. I
2
do have
hours.
to tinkle, so I might
Oh, you might
bounce. for a
might break out.
Yep. I'll be right
Cool.
back.
Do we have another topic to get into here, or another section?
It's today's is more like the three. So the 3 points was our 3 perspectives on that that topic of the giving up thing. I definitely remember when I first mine was like with gear, and I thought that this like particular guitar and particular amp thing was going to sort of change my life. And the most valuable conclusion of it was it became very, very painfully apparent that it was what I do with it, and the thing itself has no intrinsic value. Obviously, nicer things can make a certain kind of difference, but you need to be going towards that difference in order for it to work. So
Yeah.
to give you an example of what I'm talking about, I'm doing a video right now, and there's a pickup comparison sort of built into the video. It's a guitar video, but there's one pickup that really there's 3 total pickups that are compared, and there's one pickup that just shines way, way above the other 2. However, the tune that I'm using to compare the 3 pickups completely holds together no matter what the pickup is, and still sounds completely like the tune, and I get a buzz out of that tune even though I wrote it.
Right.
So yes, one pickup makes a pretty big difference for me personally, but I think overall in terms of the impact and what is attempting to be communicated through the art, is not impacted by the guitar pickup at all. Even though I personally find a major preference for the one pickup that I don't own.
Right.
So, yeah, Nick, just to loop you in, I was talking. You might have this one, an example of this. Stephen, if you have an example like this as well, I think the gear thing is common, where you put this stock into, like, if I get this one piece of gear, it's going to make this big change in my life, and relating this to today's topic of the giving up, where you get the thing and it provides nothing. You're like, oh, it sounds good, but I got to do something with it.
Yeah.
It does nothing on its own. And I'm in the exact same spot. I have the exact same ideas I had yesterday when I didn't own this amp or whatever.
Man, I know I've like, I need a bass. I need a better bass. You know, I need a 5-string bass.
Right.
You know, I thought I needed it. It's like, well, you still got to write stuff on that baritone first, pal. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Dude, I do it with cameras all the time. I have camera envy all the time. Thinking like, there's a reason why I'm not making good videos right now, or videos at all. That's because I need.
It's because of the camera.
I need a new camera. It's like, bruh, you've made money on the camera you have now, so that's not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephen?
I have that pretty frequently.
Okay.
With like, it's always little stuff, but it's more so like if I'm in a rut with something and I see like a pedal that does something wonky or whatever, I'm like, I bet you there's a song in there somewhere that'll justify this $200 purchase or something of that. I have that, but I'm getting better at just saying like, I'm sure that exists and I'm sure there are ideas there, but you also have like 42 pedals in your house.
Right.
So why don't you pick one of those that you bought when you thought this before?
Right.
And then create a thing because, or, you know, Helix offers all of these options in a way that would let you know if the thing you're chasing is actually something you want.
Yeah.
Why don't you just sit down and do that? But then, I don't know. Yeah, I do that all the time. Or I like want to try different pickups and stuff too. But then, I don't know. Same thing with tones. I'll like, maybe I should create a new tone in Helix and that'll inspire me to do something. But the thing that's usually inspiring is just the one that I know worked or that I've got a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's all kind of content, you know, quality over quantity thing, but also like sometimes the content's just better than how you get to making, you know, the final product.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
The content over the creative means.
Correct.
The creative means is not that important, not as important as the content it is itself.
They're all just, I don't know, I've said this before, like I look at it all like they're kind of tools to get to the goal you want to do. And I'm the same with you guys. I look at cameras all the time. I'm not doing camera work for a living by any means, but I look at them a lot. And I'm like, well, maybe if I got that one, like I've been trying to talk myself out of upgrading my T5i to like a mirrorless camera of some sort. And I'm like, well, I make videos with that. And then I can shoot 4K stuff on my phone too. And my rationalization for it and what made me stop thinking about it is I've posted a lot of videos online and no one was like, what camera did you use?
Yeah. What? Try and get there first.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You should get a new camera. No, I'm just kidding.
It's weird to say. I bought the M1 today, and I actually for a moment was like, maybe I should wait on the M1 because maybe they're going to put out something cooler in a little while. And so I was like, no, I'm going to look at some cameras while I'm here. And I almost bought the M50 today, and I was like,
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, I was like, this is like $580.
Yeah, I'm glad you
that
didn't.
that I'm not going to.
That one.
Yeah, like I like the M50 and I've used it.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with the Canon stuff, but it was just like, I don't know. What I have is fine. And I shot that video in the studio literally just holding my phone, and it turned out fine.
Yeah.
And it looks good. So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I don't need any of this shit.
Ma-
I did fight myself from buying a gimbal because I have one that's terrible. So
Okay.
I might do that soon just because I want to be able to get better shots. But I shake. I don't know if anyone's noticed that before, but I have a neurological disorder, so
Oh,
I
you
shake.
do too?
Yeah,
I have a neurological disorder for coordination.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
an
just
asshole.
my hands just shake. I can't. There's no way for me to hold them steady. They just move. So it's
I'm a-
quite annoying.
I can be a statue.
Man, I wish I could. Like, I can draw and all that stuff, and it's part of me was like, man, at one point I could have gotten into tattooing, but I legit always feared like just being like, like,
Yeah.
Sick tat, bro.
yeah. Like if you look at my drawings, you can see that there's little tiny like scribbles and stuff, and those aren't for creative purposes. It's because I shake.
I like it. Well, that's makes.
I haven't noticed shakes in your videos, so.
No, I use stabilization to fix that.
So, Mr. Electric Meat Puppet says something I find hard is picking momentum back up after leaving a project for a period of time and coming back to it. Hurt my thumb pretty bad the other week and find it hard to get back into the flow. Yes. And the only way that I know how to get back on, which is what no one wants to hear, there's no hack, is to commit to getting back on, and it takes like a few days. The momentum perpetuates the momentum,
Yep.
and that's all there is that I
We've-
can recommend.
Yeah.
That's all
we've
I
had
know.
Many talks about this kind of thing. It's like
I wish it was hackable.
it's not. It's not. Well, it is sort of hackable, and it's knowing that you just need to start in that direction. Like
Yeah.
that's the hack.
Yeah.
Like it's not anything like, oh shit, really? No, it's exactly what you think it is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's starting.
Yeah. Do what we've been saying, break your big goal down into multiple realistic
tiny.
small goals.
Yeah.
And then as you start to check them off the list, eventually you will reach the thing you're after.
Yeah.
And then you can set more goals to disappoint yourself.
Well, set smaller goals. I keep being like, oh, I'll just do this video, not thinking about how gargantuan of a video it is, and I'm like, oh, I
mean-
need to make smaller videos.
The video that I finished up today filming, I started the night before, and I didn't want to. I'm like, I'm not feeling this. I'm like, but I'm gonna do it. I'm
Miles.
gonna do it, but I'm not feeling it. And slowly but surely, I'm like, I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make more B-roll in this one. So I did some different angles and some other things and moved around. I'm like, and then all of a sudden I was doing a bunch of shit, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, momentum.
You're
And
feeling
then-
the flow. Yeah.
And it just works. It's like a tried and true thing. Like if you get started.
I can say, speaking to that exactly, because that is essentially like what you're describing, Nick, is something that some researchers have studied. What is the sort of gateway to creativity? How do you open up to creativity a little bit more intentionally? And it seems like the process is, in fact, they call it, just as a catch-all term, they call it editing. And in a way, what you're describing is editing in the way that they describe it. It is a creative task that you can kind of run on about. So just like editing video, the video is already all there. But now the task is to sort of cut it up creatively or technically and kind of get into this flow. And that can segue into a greater creative effort. And similarly, doing something like B-roll, you already know it's pretty clear like what you need, but through the process of doing it, you get more ideas of what to do. And so not only is it a short exercise in momentum, but also supposedly a gateway to greater creativity.
Yes. Yes to all of that. Yeah.
That makes absolute sense, actually.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when we're not in it, we want it to be something else.
A Kit Kat bar. You know?
What was that?
I'm gonna get a Kit Kat
bar. Whoa!
I
think I did. I think I might have had a mini stroke because that sounded like you were from another planet. That sounded like I was just birthed from the what was the word I used earlier? Like the womb. Like I was
The womb.
I was like, huh?
Yeah. Eat a
And
Kit
then
Kat
all
bar.
of a
I
sudden
have
it's
an
like,
amazing
deet,
idea. Let's
deet,
change the
deet,
world.
deet, 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 Kit Kat bar, dude. Oh. Man, that's fucking funny.
Somebody's got to make the next milk. You know?
Yeah.
It was a terrible Sarah Silverman joke. like who's going to make the next milk? Somebody thought that they needed to take milk from a cow. What's the next milk?
Yeah.
Cashew. That's what I've been drinking the last few days.
Tasty.
Cashews don't milk.
If you
You'd be
smash them
surprised.
up
If you
and
pulverize
press them
them
together. Yeah.
Is it good? I love cashews. I don't want to get addicted.
Cashew milk is very good.
Fuck.
I'm so into it. Yeah.
Guess that's the new sponsor, right? Cashew
yeah.
milk.
Yeah, cashew milk's dope to put in.
I'm into it.
If you want to try and avoid carby stuff, dude. I'm getting bombarded by work texts.
Uh-oh.
I love no, it's not
Work it.
bad. They just put me in a group text and like, hey, I hate group texts for the most part. Well, I guess I just mostly my family ones. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. What was I gonna say? Shit. Oh yeah, Sarah Silverman jokes. There's a funny one, but it's not appropriate.
All right.
Sup, studs.
Hey, bud.
Oh hey.
I just
How
had to
does
get that
one
in.
milk a cashew?
Well,
Well, let me tell you.
technically, cashews, you're right, don't have milk. They,
You smash them up and you
Yeah,
press
you
them.
pulverize them and you squeeze out the juice. You could do it at home. You can do it with peanuts as
Yep.
well. You can do it with
I
pretty
guess
much
you could.
anything.
Yeah, you can blend them and press them. It's all good. On topic. Here we go. Weathered and Wise says, on the topic of buying stuff,
Don't do
do
it.
I go 8 gigs of RAM on the Mac Mini or 16? How has 8 been working for you, Nick? We can speak to this.
Oh yeah.
8 is
having
fine. I
not-
have the Mac Mini with the 16.
You have a 16 in your. I have 8 in
Yeah.
mine, and I've
Yeah.
been rocking like work videos. I can
Yeah.
open red raw files on that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
So
Black
the
magic files.
the benefit of when it comes to video or anything really, I've been noticing huge benefits in audio as well, especially when it comes to spatial effects like reverbs and also like heavy duty compressors, limiters, like mastering level limiters. I can use mastering limiters to compress bass just in a regular mix, as well as a whole bunch of delays and reverbs, and not the computer doesn't care.
Eric brings up a good point. He says 16 gigs if you use sample libraries. And
Yeah.
there's probably something to that.
I
Well,
got
I-
8 today, but I have my sample libraries and all that stuff on an external, so they don't
Right.
fuck with
Yeah,
my...
I think it's more for
Yeah.
like loading it into RAM while you're
Well,
in a project.
This is the idea that has been proposed, is that the physical amount of space in RAM is finite, and it is what it is. So 8 gigs of RAM is 8 gigs of RAM, no matter what the architecture is.
Yeah.
16 gigs is 16 gigs, no matter the architecture. The benefit of this SoC chip, system on a chip, ARM-based architecture, is efficiency. So it swaps stuff in and out of RAM faster. But if it doesn't have to swap stuff out as much, it can do an even bigger job.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted the 16. The problem with the 16 is they're all on back order right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at a lot of the benchmarks, like I'm not doing a lot of 4K stuff or things that are higher than 4K.
Yeah.
And if you actually
Not a
look at the
huge difference.
right, if you look at the comparisons between the 8 and the 16 when you're just doing baseline stuff, like you're not doing things that are super intensive and you're not running a lot of apps in the background, the benchmarks are minute in difference. when you start getting into bigger things, then the 16 is definitely there. It provides you more headroom. I wanted the 16 because I wanted that freedom of it, but the 8 is, from every bit of research I did, still was keeping right up with it within seconds of it. So it's silly to worry about. That being said, I think when I do get a mini, I'm going to get the 16 just to have it because it's a little more cost effective. But being able to spend, right around $1,000 and getting something that's as powerful and fast as this is a no-brainer.
Yeah. My next one, I'm for sure going to get more RAM. I've run into a RAM thing once having it, and I had Resolve open with stuff I was coloring. I had Premiere Beta open, and I think I had something else, After Effects. And it was like, hey, a-hole, like, you got too much happening right now. But that was one time, and I was really, like, being kind of cavalier with what I was doing. Even on my PC, I'm not like, I don't like having Resolve and Premiere, and I don't. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And JW says, I remember that year everyone was trying to download more RAM. Was that actually a thing? Were people trying to download RAM? That's pretty funny.
I think that was LimeWire.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't know, man. I legitimately, I have the money, and I had the money to get the 16, and I'm still, like I said, I'm still leaning towards getting a mini that's that way. But after I did some continued research and watched multiple videos of the comparison, it just, unless you're beating it to death with crazy things, then it's not really an issue right now.
Yeah.
And if it's of any value, I have the Mac Mini fully maxed out, other than the hard drive, because I use external drives. The hard drive is small, but everything else is like totally to the gills. But I'm going to add a MacBook Air to it as my mobile, and I'm just going to go with the base model. Because
I've been blown away at what I can do with my MacBook Air.
Yeah.
I'm slightly above the base model. I was able to in-store up to the 512 storage, but I only did that because my previous computer was 512, and I wanted to make sure everything migrated over.
Get poured over,
Right.
Yeah, but everything else I have is like literally, this is just full of STDs or SSDs.
STDs?
I have a lot of STDs hanging out.
Oh, man, it's nice that you carry them around with you.
I do. I like to make sure that they're contained. But yeah, I have, like, this is all just hard drive and STDs.
I have all my music on and I almost called it an STD as well. An SSD, like everything Nick related, all my like transitions, shit like that. I have it on an SSD and my music, and then I have my sound libraries on a different SSD.
Yeah, he keeps his wife on an SSD as well. That's why we don't see her that often.
Yeah, she actually just got home a few minutes ago. I haven't seen her in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Hi, Tony.
She has an interview for a job down here tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Very exciting.
Yeah,
That'd
very
be nice
excited.
to see my wife more than every 2 weeks.
I know what that's like, actually.
I know you do.
Yeah. On the regular, hey? Yeah. And JW also says, I checked out your music the other day, Stephen. I love your sound and the vocals, the artwork as well. So, yeah.
I appreciate that, JW. The artwork on the last few records is a guy named Matt Mills. I think he was Matt Mills Art is what it's called now, but I think it was called Dead Hand Art. You can find a lot of his, like he sells just prints and stuff. He's a super cool guy. I'm working with him we're collaborating on stuff. I kind of showed Nick some of the stuff, but I'm doing these really bare bones drawings, and then Matt.
Oh, I love the concepts, man. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's going back over them and adding little tiny details to them in his style. So it's a collaborative effort. So I'm looking forward to sharing that.
Aaron makes a good point. You can get used iMacs fully loaded for about $1,000, which is a good point. Used iMacs are, I have an iMac from 2012 upstairs that can still rock any audio production I do.
Yep.
It's just audio production, if you have your setup a certain way, you don't need a ton of machine to get audio production.
Yeah.
Up
The only reason that I go on about the M1 stuff is because it is $1,000, brand new.
Right.
And
no, I'm with you.
It's like a supercomputer.
Yeah.
The
It's
other
like
thing is,
unheard of technology. I've never experienced anything like it in my life.
and it's Rev 1.
This is the first version. So if
Steven
you're an
always-
artist,
Steven pointed out to me that these M1s are popping up like on the used site. for
already
Apple.
used, yeah.
Yeah.
On the refurbished site, they're 10% off. And if you go to the educational site, because there's no checks and balances on it, they're 15% off.
Yeah.
Of a new one.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in price. But you basically pay about the same. But the plus side to refurbished stuff is they treat it like it's new. So
Yeah.
if you buy it,
You
still
get a
has
warranty and everything.
warranty, Apple Care, all that stuff. It's still fully covered.
With the M1s, what happened is like there were a lot of early adopters that had a specialized use case for the machine
ship,
that didn't work. They were too early, and they had to go back to Intel or whatever. So they a lot of machines shipped back because it was a whole new concept in computing. But I think now if you're getting into it, you're pretty safe.
I mean,
everything runs.
There's nothing wrong with my prior computer other than like trying to edit videos getting a little sluggy. Like it's just a 2015 MacBook Pro, the big one. The only thing that I am bummed about is that I had to downsize physically. But I bought an ultra wide monitor yesterday for $169. So,
Wow.
'cause Walmart here in Ohio clearance them out because people don't go to Walmart to buy computer peripherals.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
even if you go on their website, the thing's still, like $269, I think it was. And then
man.
the same one on the exact same LG ultra wide monitor at Best Buy is still $299 in the store, and I got it for $169. So
My LG ultra wide, it's a 48-inch, is was $700.
yeah.
You Americans and your prices.
Sorry.
Well, that would be what, like
17 trillion in
580 something American, like So yeah, that makes sense.
Steven has to do that all the time, that back and forth.
Right.
Steven goes back to Canada, he gets a little richer.
I feel like, though, a lot of stuff, not only is the exchange, especially with consumer goods in the United States, and I noticed this like as a creative person because, computer peripherals, it's like I need computer stuff to do all this creative stuff. But yeah, those things, the price difference between United States and Canada is crazy.
I've noticed that. I mean, I got you, bud. As long as it's not so big that it's obvious. If you're like, I ordered a 62-inch television, I need you to bring it across the border. We got a problem. But if you need like a new mouse or something, and it's $200 there and it's $60 here, I'll hook you up.
Okay.
A mouse.
I do need a new.
I got you. Have I told you my story about being detained for being the bird guy?
What? No.
Okay, so about the first trip back after I was allowed to come back into Canada from COVID, in July of last year, June or July of last year, this past year, when I was leaving to come back into the States, the agricultural department for Canada said that I was flagged and they pulled me in and went through all of my stuff, and they said that they had reason to believe that I was bringing bird species into the U.S. And I was like, what? And I just like laughed and sat down. I was like, knock yourself out, bud. I got nothing.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, yeah, I'm the bird guy now, I guess. That's who I am.
So weird.
And then they're like, yeah, well, what it came down to is there's another person in, like, I drive a Kia Soul because I'm a lame ass that
so
drives
awesome.
a Kia Soul. Yeah, I'm trying to get laid out there. But like, either way, it's like one of the most popular cars in the world.
Amongst aviaries.
Yeah, but like, I literally will see like 10 or 15 of them just driving on the highway between Canada and the States of the same exact car model, the same color, and
Bird up.
I'm sure exactly somebody that had that car must have done something weird with birds. But yeah, they
smuggling them geese
they
across the
pulled me
border.
in and they were like, "Well, we have reason to believe that you're bringing birds
Don't they
into the."
naturally fly across the border? Like, are they checking all the birds as they fly over? Hey, let me see your
I don't know, maybe it's
papers.
some sort of invasive species thing, like if there's like a certain type of mite or something on them that maybe I don't make the rules. Also,
That is
more Canadian geese are
insane.
in the States than in Canada.
Yeah, they're a fucking nuisance. Go back to where you came from.
I saw one literally taking a shit on top of someone's parked car in the parking lot yesterday.
Amazing.
Well,
Those
officially
Canadias, those Canada geese.
I send pictures of them to my wife when they're doing something messed up or just in the way, and I'm like, your brethren are ruining everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have no
Real
respect.
nice, you Canadians.
They're quite bossy.
They're real
They're mean.
dickheads. Yeah, we used to live in an apartment complex with it was like, ooh, these nice apartment buildings. Sorry, guys. And there's a pond in the middle of them, and that's just an invitation for the geese. So the gaggle of geese coming in, taking over your territory, and you're like out on your little porch with your apartment, and they're like attacking you because you're too close to their nest, and they're like wanting to fight you because I'm taking your stupid eggs, man. You guys are big. Oh, I will kick a goose, man. I tell you, I almost got into it multiple times with geese at that apartment
here in
complex.
Canada, if you have any kind of kerfuffle with a goose in any way, you go to jail. For real.
Kerfuffle.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It's the perfect word when we talk about,
Fighting geese.
gander fights.
Yeah, gander fights. So many amazing band names coming out of.
Gander fight.
Kerfluffle.
Kerfuffle.
Oh boy.
Oh, man,
JW,
guys.
this is the last one, then we're gonna shut her down.
Yep.
But JW says, Nick, how do you feel about buying outright versus subscription on Presonus? I tried
Ooh, boy.
Waveform and Presonus free and kind of like Studio One more. I'm not a fan of subscriptions, even though I have a few. I'm
Same.
subscribed to the Slate bundle, but I
Me too.
really want to get out of it.
Same.
We're all in the same boat because I want.
It's not
to
that I don't
also-
like the plugins. I think the plugins are great, but
I've been
it's
trying
not
different
worth it for me.
compressors to replace the Slate one that I use all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
There's something about.
I just
want
wanna own them outright.
I think that's what I'm gonna
but they're
do.
so expensive.
They're very expensive because they want to keep you on.
Yeah.
They want to keep you on that subscription. In regards to Presonus, I've bought every version aside from this version in full disclosure because I worked with them to do the preset packs. I have a Sphere for free. That's the reality of it. I actually
Well, it's not for free. You work
right.
for
That was
it.
my payment.
You worked
That
for
was
it.
my payment.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was subscribed to Sphere for 5 before that whole thing happened. I did subscribe to it, and here's the reason why. It's what was it, $14, $14.99 a month or whatever. I like the bonus stuff that they give me, like as far as sample packs, and you get access to all of the plugins in Studio One, which are killer plugins, and I know that came up in the comments too about stock plugins being just as good as a subscription for plugins. There's definitely something to that. I like the channel strip plugins inside of Presonus, so I was like, well, I get to have that, and I love their delay. It's one of my favorites, so I don't have to pay for it. So if I didn't have it, had I not earned it through my work for Presonus, I would probably be subscribing to it because I like sample packs for other music, but I like sample packs. That being said, I'm with Bunn. I don't really like monthly recurring charges.
I hate it.
I don't make that much money, so
Exactly.
I really feel it.
Mhm.
Well, it only takes like $10 subscriptions to knock $100 out of your budget.
It's exactly what happens. You're just like, it's only $10 a month. It's only $5 a month. It's only $12 a month.
URLs. I pay for a website. I pay for
exactly.
Pay.
It really does add up. It really
I did the math on it. In total, in subscriptions right now, I pay $280 a month in subscription fee.
Whoa, bro.
Is this including things like lifestyle and entertainment as well, like Netflix or whatever?
Yeah, Netflix.
Total subscriptions.
All of them together. That's including my. I have a prescription that I get as a subscription thing because it's cheaper to get it through the mail. Yeah, just in total, it runs just shy of $300 a month.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, but that's part of like I need to eliminate this. And I've gone through and eliminated a bunch of them. And
yeah, I think I found all of the things. I'm gonna do a test this weekend. I have to work on videos right now, but I think I found full replacement for Slate.
I am actively trying. Oh, like the whole package?
Well, all of the reason why I have it. Really, I have it more for FGX than anything, the mastering compressor, but I think I found a solution for that.
I use FGX, and I use the red compressor, and I use Virtual Mix Rack.
Yeah, I like a lot of the other stuff. I like the reverbs. I like the delays. I like the EQ. What is it? The Pro Q? It's kind of like Pro Q.
Pro Q. It's Infinity EQ.
Infinity, yeah.
Infinity, yeah.
I have Pro Q, so I've got no use for the rest of those.
Right.
But I don't know. I started picking up some of the Waves things when they were on clearance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slowly start getting. I use the tape machine a lot, but my thing is that I have a lot of old material that is built around those plugins, and then if I have to revisit it, I have to re-up my subscription to revisit those songs.
No, well, like the session will just come up and the plugin will be dead. And you just delete the plugins and you can replace them with something else.
I guess that's true.
I've done that many times.
I just have to find the right replacement. Like I have been. Yeah. I tried the actual SSL plugins last night a little bit, since you can get a 30-day trial, because that's what the FGX is. It's an SSL emulation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And boy, I know how to use the FGX so well. So that's the problem. I need to just learn something else. I want it to work. Whatever I replace it with, I want it to work exactly how that stupid Slate one does, and then it'll be good. But I'm looking too. I'm actively looking to.
I'm in a good position transferring into a new computer, so I kind of just, if I'm going to get away from it, now's the time.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to try to.
Try Tokyo Labs. They have the Limiter 6 Gentleman's Edition, which is a mastering processor similar to in concept to the FGX, in that it has a compression thing. It also has an additional saturation section, a limiter section, and a clipping section, and a little bit more granular control of each section. And it shows a great amount of promise. I just haven't put it fully through its paces.
Plus, I'm sure you're drawn to their art. They're
Is
Tokyo
it
Dawn Records.
Tokyo Dawn? Yeah, they're a very hip company.
Yeah.
I see.
And they have that modern kind of method where it's like, here's all these free things, and if you like it, hopefully you will support us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really into that model. So
have you toyed?
I've tried Limiter 6. What I want is the Limiter 6 Gentleman's Edition, GE, which is about $90, I think.
Yeah,
which
50
is
euros. Yeah.
Yeah, which is totally fine. But the Limiter 6, the original version of it, which was made by a developer in conjunction with Tokyo Dawn, guy from Russia, and Tokyo Dawn, they teamed up and they did Limiter 6, the original one, and recently they've, redid the whole thing and did the Gentleman's Edition. But the original Limiter 6 is close enough in concept, and if you can get most of the way there with that, then for sure the gentleman's edition will pick up the slack.
I'm
I
pretty
got
sure
the
I'm using
summing
Waves
stuff.
I'm using Waves on my M1 without issue. As a matter of fact, I'm using Fab. Well, Fab's native now. Yeah, I bought some specifically to use on the M1, and I have had no issues. So,
Yeah.
Anywho, cool,
Yeah.
Bunn. Thank you for that
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll be doing some shopping this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Waves wanted me to pay again for the new versions of their
Yeah.
plugins for the M1.
Synth Chris
Really?
is on the Nova by TDR. That's TDR is great. Tokyo Dawn Records. They're a record company as well as a plug-in developer.
Oh, this is okay. Cool. So a few of you guys know about them. All right, awesome.
Yeah. Very.
So you're
very
saying that the TDR GE is the one you're
the
interested in?
Limiter 6 GE. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But they have, if you want to just try it out, Limiter 6. They might have a trial of GE. I didn't look at that. I just have the Limiter 6 already, the original one.
Download it, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Cool. All right.
there's that. This has been a lot of fun, fellas. I appreciate it.
No time
Yeah.
limitation.
Yeah, I'm holding back a pretty serious PP.
Okay, get into it. All right. Good night, everyone. No call to action tonight. No nothing. I just hope everybody is well and
Have a productive week.
have an amazing week.
Yep.
And yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Good night.